Ms. Marvel episode 6 depicted misrepresentation in a way that is unfathomable to me. An imam, a leader of a Islam community in New Jersey, what he did was he abetted a fugitive, someone responsible for an explosion in this holy place of worship. No questions asked. He did a favor. He put him inside of the hidden secret compartment of a shoe rack, which just happens to be there in this masjid. They don't have those. I've been to multiple. I've probably been to 20 in my entire life. Never once have I said, hey, where's that place you keep to hide people from the authorities? And then he uttered the words.
Wait. You need a disguise.
Which implies he knows a little something about deceiving authority. For a show that went all these lengths to show you how overly monitored the Muslims are, they sure gave a good reason to justify that over monitoring. Anyways, I'm Chillmonger. You're watching my favorite YouTube channel, Chillmonger. Ms. Marvel episode 6 review. Had to get that out the way because that's probably the most important part of this to me. We talk about representation and they stunk the bed. Terrible. The show begins with Agent Deaver, the deceptively, subtly hateful Agent Deaver. People like that shouldn't get superpowers. She's so hateable.
This is what happens when the wrong people get powers. The wrong people.
Unlike Agent Cleary. Clearly was the ally, clearly. Maybe that's why. At home, Kamala comes clean and admits she does have superpowers. Too bad there just wasn't enough time in this episode. Guys, this is a 6-issue series. You got nothing but time. It's not no movie where you got to fast track things. If the show was actually a superhero show focused on that kind of thing, this meeting, this questioning.
I have been dying to ask you, are your powers limitless or do you have to recharge?
Oh,
actually,
also, I have been dying to ask.
All of these things that we kind of glossed over really quickly here in this episode, we would have gotten in the last episode. In the last episode, the goal was 17 minutes of runtime until we finally got to see Kamala. It was all about Aisha in the past, and none of that had anything to do with the rest of the show. Nothing that happened there has been referenced since. It was just, hey, we're going to show you a little bit of history because that's our goal. Instead, if those minutes were used on this or on the revelation that mom and daughter know that she has the superpowers and have them talk and chat that out, that had been a great use of the time. Instead, they wanted to make it a lesson. They wanted to be a travel guide, a travel advertisement for the country of Pakistan. They wanted to educate you, the audience, about the history of that country. When they did Black Widow, did they want to say, we got to explain Russia? When they did Captain America, did they go all the way back to 1812? What I would like is for the characters who are from anything but white people, just regular. I was gonna say regular. That's rude to call people regular and unregular. I would say that I just want to see representation, diversity, so not just strictly white folks, because that's what we've been getting in Marvel. I'd like to see the ones who are not white to be treated like the guys who are white, where you don't got to say, well, people don't know exactly about hijabs, people don't know about everything else, and that would make for a better show if the goals and the like objectives was the same as it was, which for Spider-Man, which was make a teenage story, make it a superhero story, have plot, have to do with the others. What we didn't get in Ms. Marvel was plot, and we got subplots that had to do with stuff like, for example, remember how Nakia had an election to get on the mosque board? How did that affect this episode? Where did that culminate? It didn't. The goal was to show you, hey, women in the Muslim community, let's empower them. That's as great as that message is. Chillmonger is not here on the channel explaining to you how women don't deserve nice things. Those are great things. Absolutely awesome. You know when it's not the time to do that? Here. What we could be doing with this show is giving Kamala the best story and the best 6-episode series out of everyone who got one. That would counter any sort of racist messages, or even not even racist, but the overly white media, which when I say overly white, it doesn't proportionally represent the audience who watch these things. Shout out Brie Larson for that explanation that she gave like a couple of years ago. Brie Larson fans here on Chillmonger. I meant to say you can counter racist ass parenting, teaching, stereotypes if Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel had the best Disney Plus show and she was the best new superhero. I lost my train of thought. So Taisha is going to ask if these powers limitless. Those are great questions I'd like to know the answer of. And they had 6 episodes to tell us that. Then you get Ami, who does a complete 180 from the first episode. And she goes to Abu, we trust her, don't we?
And we trust her, right?
It would be nice to see her get to that point where she went from we don't trust her to now we trust her. We had the time. We didn't have to make it a show about, hey, did you know biryani is spicy? This is what the teens do in Pakistan. Didn't need to have that. We could have had the plot serve the main character, who is Kamala Khan. Now, upstairs, Kamala receives her costume. This is a lot better than the Burkini origins in the comic books. Instead, I think it's her nani. The cardboard had like the Toffees logo, the same thing that her bangles were delivered in. So it looks like it was stitched in Pakistan, as Naki is going to allude to later. And this is presented to her from her mom. Okay, mom's on board, dad's on board, family's on board for the most part. This is different, and I prefer this than comic book stuff. In the comics from Magnificent Ms. Marvel issue 2, maybe it is, where mom already knew, but then her dad found out about it, and it was like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere. A couple issues later, an alien wizard deleted their memory and made them forget that Kamala was actually the superhero. That's what happened in that comic. It was terrible. I reviewed that here. I had YouTube back then. You can watch me review that, and it was so disappointing. This is better. This is The problem is there's no precedence except for that story I just told you about. There's no precedence of the family knowing who she is. But then again, like the secret identity stuff here is wonky all over the place. There's plenty of information if anyone was looking, anyone tried to find out that Kamala Khan is Ms. Marvel, as we'll see the evidence throughout this episode. Now she starts running and jumping, and she gets to this red light, and she stops, and she says, "Oh, green light now, it's time to go." That was stupid. If you're here to save lives and you're urgent, you're not going to stop at the light. That could have been pulled. Am I nitpicking? No, it was urgent enough where you shouldn't have stopped for the red light as a little joke. Next scene here is a recurring problem with the show.
Crazy, you can't hide a mosque.
Why? What houses of worship are supposed to offer sanctuary?
This is a mosque in America.
Now, if the moment would have ended there, it'd be understood and made a lot of sense. But they had to hit you over the head with,
Damage control, GCPD. Hell, the Department of Sanitation probably has us under surveillance.
the more you have to linger and explain it, the more uncool it is. The more obvious it is that there's some messaging happening here from the TV show and the creators of the show. They really want you to humanize Muslims. The Imam said, "Hold on, you guys need a disguise." Those were words that he said in this show. He said, "Oh, take Clifton Street, but avoid Grant." It was in the show. Outside of this holy place of worship, there's a police line, do not cross. Usually that means where I'm from, where I live, when there's a police line that says do not cross, no one goes in, no one goes out unless you're the cops. In comes Agent Deaver, and it's like a great joke here. It's like the Gross sisters, hand up, cash out. They knew the drill, they had their cards ready. Very funny joke. However, they step on the joke when that woman in the background goes, "But you're describing everybody here."
But you are describing practically everyone here.
Yes, show creators, I get it. I understand that the Muslims are over policed and the description is so large that everyone fits under there and it's just an oppressive state. I get it. I agree with it too. There's ways to make us humanize and sympathize with other people, and going this hard at it is not one of the ways to sympathize and humanize. In the masjid, there are cookies that Rashid created. Yeah, he created the cookies too. And unfortunately for me, that is misrepresentative of a prayer hall. You remember how we had that nice carpet that we explained it would be rude for them to be stepping on because we put our faces on that carpet and it's like always vacuumed every night. And yeah, so crumbs and cookie crumbs wouldn't be there. The imam or the sheik, as she put it, in a very evil way.
No one will be on your side, Sheik.
It was a great line, a great addition. But the sheik wouldn't be like, yeah, cookies inside here. He'd probably say, hey, not the place, go outside. If we're being representative, but not this guy. Hey, make sure you avoid Grant Street. Now, since we're on the topic of misrepresentation, I've accepted this isn't Nakia from Earth 616. This is the MCU's version. But a Muslim woman would never bring the boyfriend that she's not supposed to have into the masjid and hide him with her little hair peeking out of her hijab. It doesn't happen. Representation. Now remember that police line do not cross? Watch how Bruno and Kamran evade the police who are totally supposed to see him here. This should have been recut. That's a cut. Let's run that back again. Driver, you came out too quickly. Wait for them to get in and then we'll shoot you driving by. We can make an excuse of, oh, he probably was looking the wrong way. Maybe he didn't turn the right corner yet, but that was way too quickly. And no, that's not a nitpick. That was in the show. They're out there looking for them in a heavily monitored and heavily monitored, as well as like perimeter on there. Definitely should not look. I'll play it again. Look how ridiculous this is. This scene shouldn't happen. if this was a superhero show where the plot was read and studied and then picked at and then made so it was seamless, that wouldn't have flown. That wouldn't have flown. People with superhero mindsets wouldn't have filmed that, wouldn't have watched that in the editing and then reshoots for the show, which happened, and let that one go. The cops should have saw them. They were escaping. Sorry for having standards. Kamala's on the phone with boyfriend number 3, and he arranges a pickup at the harbor at midnight. In school now, they hop into the bathroom window to get in. Makes sense. Nakia's there. Now, don't you guys remember the police line that said "Do not cross"? Yep, she made it to the school. Cool. It was her idea to get to the school, but maybe inside that one of those broom closets or the hideaways behind the shoe racks, there's also an escape pathway underneath. Those crafty Muslims. No, seriously. I can't have that representation just let it slide. When people are fearful of Islam and the Muslims, they're like, oh, there's a mosque being built in our neighborhood. What are they going to do there? How do they operate? That's what the fearful people there, or those who dislike the religion or faith, or just anyone with questions and doubts. That's how they operate and think. Why is $100-200 million budget being put on a Disney Plus series to to convey that? Why is that happening at all? It's very poorly representative of this religion. Disgusting. The sad thing is the creators of the show, a lot of them, many of them, are Muslim. Like, the intention is there to properly represent this religion. They do want to be doing the nice and right things. I don't let that slide. Get that. I get it. I do. Same with like the ones how they don't want to recast T'Challa. They're probably thinking they're doing the right thing. They think they're actually honoring because, if we let someone else wear this jersey, no, the jersey's in the rafters. Maybe that's how they're thinking. I get how the intention is there, but I'm calling out the absolute stupidity of anything to do with law enforcement and Islam. It's so crazy. Now, I explained why Nakia is there. Zoe is also there. And they explain that because TikTok lighting, that's why I use the theater. So I'm in here. Yep. By the way, I was keeping it a secret and I wouldn't let anyone know that it was you who was Nightlight. Okay, I get that explanation. How about when her brother joins the crew? I can't explain that one because he says he came through the bathroom too. He says that the mom sent him there to the school. Well, how the heck did the mom know that she was at school? Did Nakia let her mom know? There was a hole here which was unexplained. Actually, later in the episode, when Zoe goes live, you're going to see this scene where it looks like Amu and Abi have no idea that they were actually at the school when Zoe was out calling for help, which was the plan there. They were going to distract and slow them down until that was the plan. Just delay the forces. And I had my problems with that. First of all, how did the forces even know that they were there? How did they even find us? That's a good question. My conclusion is that Kamala Khan's cover is blown. They knew where to look for her because they figured out who it was. But no, that's not the case. Apparently, she still has a secret identity that's still intact, despite a lot of what just transpired. Despite Nakia being a person of interest, despite a couple of the arrests that are going to happen later on, including her brother. If my brother gets arrested, if my best friend gets arrested, and it happens at my school, what secret identity? During the planning phase, I loved the doodles and the way that they use them, the way that they always use it. And then when everyone was getting fire extinguishers, they did some physical humor as well. When Zoe was just gingerly elbowing over that fire extinguisher safety glass, good stuff there. Here now, Zoe has a clever line.
I think Kamala should be able to tell the world when she's ready.
See, Zoe has a crush on Nakia. She will share with her feelings later on. If you're going by the comics, that's how it'll happen. But the thing with that makes it so nice is the appreciation and the level of care that went into consideration that went into this, because she's of a community, being a lesbian, who's someone who's shunned and isn't properly represented in media. But they also didn't overly smash you with it. But I get why the character Zoe would feel that no, Kamala admitting and letting everyone know about a characteristic of herself, how Zoe's mindset and the sexuality she practices would influence her, the words she says or her opinions. Wouldn't that be awesome and great if we could see scenes like that for Kamala, or more of them? They were in here, but we would rather have that representation done for a group in ways that push the story forward, that don't stop the plot, and that answer questions of why she wouldn't tell and why she wouldn't break when she was being interrogated. I got all of that. in that clever, well-written line. Okay, now let's get to the terribleness. In a lot of shows and movies, sometimes they would be shooting at you, sometimes they'd be like keeping you as a hostage and only pointing the gun at you, and they'd switch back and forth. This many times, though, it's crazy. So the good guys are all wearing the same things to evade the Department of Defense control. The first interaction that the department have is they see this radio playing, and what do? Rather than stepping up and turning the dial, no, they shoot at it. Okay, cool. It's an on-site shoot type thing. They don't even have the patience to turn dials. Understood. I hope that's consistent throughout. It is not consistent throughout. Let's begin.
Wow.
Kamran is seen. They don't shoot.
They sent all of you just for me.
Nakia and Amir, they do a double fire extinguisher. They don't shoot. Chairs piled up. They will shoot. An agent triggers a booby trap, which makes a large science project, and now they're being splashed. They're attacked. Okay. They restrained from firing earlier. Maybe unlike cops in real life, these are the Department of Defense. They know how to withhold and stay back. But now that they've been attacked, it's on. They know this guy is armed and dangerous. They remember what happened with the Circle Q, that explosion. This is the villain that they're dealing with, and he's willing to splash multiple of these agents. Okay, cool. It's on. Those guys, those Department of Defense are definitely gonna be shooting. That's the way I understand it. Bruno's over here dancing. They don't shoot. They just kind of elbow him. All right. Maybe those weren't the same agents who were splashed. Maybe they were different agents. We go to the gym now. On this bike, it's Nakia, and she gets them to shoot at each other. Okay, well, they're shooting, right? There's some of them are shooting. How about the ones behind Nakia? Let's watch that one again. For some reason, the guys on the sides where it would be disadvantageous, where the plot allows her to continue moving forward, they shoot at each other. But the ones from behind aren't shooting at all? No? Well, until this moment here, where a shot just happens to clip the bike where she can keep going. They shoot that. That's the thing. Turn the corner now. Now remember, these guys were just in the gym. They were just chasing, watching their friends get shot down from each other. You hate these masked people who are wearing hoodies and the hats. Ooh, you're mad at them. You turn the corner, softballs. Yeah. It's a kid's show, Chillmonger. Logically, those guys are getting shot at. You're not, oh, softballs. Oh, no. They're shooting. And then behind them, there's some more agents. Thankfully, they only detained them. So that was the plan. What happened though was Zoe was over on the side saying, "Hey, I'm with my two friends who are superheroes." What's secret identity? Zoe, remember she's an ally, remember? The ally. Okay, all you gotta do is investigate. All you gotta do to figure out who the superhero is, who it actually is you go, Circle Q. That belongs to Bruno. That's his apartment. That's where he lives, as he says earlier in this episode. Who's his best friend? Does she fit the description? Let's see here. There's Nakia, who was on the TikTok with her. Let's see if Nakia is a person of interest. Does Nakia fit the description? No, her skin's a little bit too light. Nakia has a best friend. Nakia was arrested along with a brother who was an unknown accomplice. You can't Google. You can't figure out that Kamala Khan is actually the superhero. You can't figure it out. The normal, like just regular person could figure that out. Let alone the Department of Defense or anyone who had footage from the Avengers Con, any security camera footage. Those guys who were paid to look for and try to find out who it is, they know Kamala Khan is Ms. Marvel, is Light Night, is they know who it is. What secret identity? Inside the school, Kamala and Kamran are still free inside the school. He mentions that he needs the clandestines.
I need the clandestines.
Not the clandestines as the way that his mom pronounced it earlier.
We're known as clandestines.
Remember that? It was clandestines. He says clandestines. That's evident of someone who's just reading a script and going, oh, I guess that's how you say the word. Shows up to do his scenes, and no one goes, actually, your mom was pronouncing it clandestines. It is not okay that the mother pronounces what they are one way, and then the kid who grew up in that household, who was, it's the mom, it's the son, the kid doesn't say what he is properly, to mispronounce what he is. It's like Muslim people calling themselves Muslims, or yeah, that's a good example right there. There's a way to say the word, and the clandestines is not something he should say. If this was a superhero show where things like that mattered, it'd be great, and it would be picked up. It would be a great moment where someone could edit through the things and treat it like a superhero show rather than a traveling Pakistani guide, rather than what it was which was the representation show mixed with Kamala Khan, if you want to go by the way Kevin Feige pronounced it. Remember when he said Kamala Khan?
So let's reveal the first one. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, Muslim Pakistani teenager from Jersey City, is coming.
He really said that. I'll play the clip. I just played the clip. That hacked. He doesn't know who this character is. He's not a fan of that character. He did it for representation purposes. What do you know from about that character? Oh, brown skin. Oh, cool. We're not racist here at Marvel. Definitely greenlight that project. I would love for it to be greenlit authentically. Maybe if we could pay Adil and Bilal, those two directors who did the first episode and the second and the last episode, maybe episode 1 and 6 directors could do the whole thing rather than getting unknowns. If we could get some qualified folks who could, because I would consider, as far as like the action goes and the superhero-ness of the show, episode 1 and 6 were the best of them. We slowed down to teach lessons for a lot of the other episodes. And I glossed over the scene where Kamala and Kamran are holding hands and it's glowing. How is that happening? Love to know the answer to that if this was a superhero show, but it wasn't. We don't know why their hands were glowing. If I'm wrong, leave a comment. Explain to me. When in the show did they explain that that the hands would glow, I guess, if the two hold each other? Is it love? That was never said. Is it feelings? Leave a comment. Or agree with Chillmonger, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Now, I wasn't done counting the flaws in logic. After Kamran asks, hey, what exactly happened to my mother? Did she die or not? They're going to kick through the window. Okay, the department hate these good guys enough where they're going to kick through them, but then they're going to stop and point their weapons at the good guys. This next scene. If you're like me and you were looking for answers to what exactly happened at the last episode,
Just tell me.
Nishma did exactly what she swore she was gonna do. Okay, she pierced the veil. She tried to destroy everything.
She was trying to save our world.
Kamran learns his mom died. She was trying to save her home world. She pierced the veil, whatever that means. All right, whatever. We make it now outside, and we learn that those. Oh, first of all, the police line do not cross. It's back up. Not that that matters, because when Kamala shows enough machismo, that will move everyone along. Even the cops are gonna come cross that police line. That do not cross police line. Cops are gonna be there. It's crazy how that line works. In New Jersey, they only honor police line do not crosses if the plot wants that to happen. This was written, this was in the show. I'm not complaining or nitpicking about little things. I'm talking about things that they decided to show. They showed you scenes in between other scenes to show you, oh, there's a police line. Do not cross. This place is surrounded, that place is surrounded. No, didn't seem to matter in the show. So there's a canon that can break Kamala Khan's hard light. As we see, Taisha was asking, hey, what are the limits of this power? Got to see that. If this was a superhero show and you're interested in that kind of stuff, then we got to see it. There's actually one more illogical scene before they head out. Kamran and Kamala get shot at. Oh, just narrowly escaped through the corridor. Okay, that's where the bad guys are. And now out comes Kamran, and they look at him as he prepares to blast the lockers at them. I'll play it again. Okay, so one more time. I'm not slowing it down or nothing. They just shot at you 1 minute ago. Now, the next second, he turns the corner. He's there. And no, we're not shooting. The plot didn't require them to be shot, and so it didn't. That can't happen this many times in an episode for Chillmonger to let it slide at all. If we have standards and this isn't like a budget thing. This is literally just an editing, a cutting, a fan of or a knowledgeable person in fighting who in story. Okay, this is terrible. We go outside. There's now a moment where she says "embiggen." I go, yeah, this was Ms. Marvel. I forgot. Yeah, Ms. Marvel, because her powers are different. They actually changed the superpowers from what it's supposed to be in comic books. They didn't do that for Spider-Man, for Hulk, for Iron Man. He still goes into the cave, box of scraps, creates an Iron Man suit. Falcon's got wings. We got Bucky with a robotic arm, and they got his story correct, didn't they? Captain Marvel can shoot photon blast. She can fly. They got a lot of heroes right. A lot of the white ones, especially, and they decided to say, you know what we're gonna do here. Only thing that matters is that her skin is brown. Her name's Kamala Khan. Her countries of origin is Pakistan. Her religion is Islam. We're here for representation, not accuracy. That was the goal here in the show. And if you disagree with that, go kick rocks because you're wrong. That was it. The mindset here. They didn't even know her name. They Kamala Khan. They didn't even know her name. Kamala says the words "embiggen." She embiggens. It looks bad, but whatever, man. I'm too busy being mad that her superpowers are not what they're supposed to be. She's supposed to be a polymorph who can change her form. She's not supposed to bleed. She's supposed to have a healing factor as long as she looks like herself. Even like towards the I was gonna talk about the ending of the video. Oh, we already know what happens at the end. Spoiler alert. In the scene where it looks like Carol Danvers is in the room, I wasn't sure whether or not Kamala changed her presence to appear like her, which is something that happens early in issue number 1 of her comic. You're gonna see a scene here in the fight where she is bulletproof, which changes the severity and the circumstance of every single comic book that they're ever going to adapt of her story. If she can, in fact, resist bullets and repel them and wear like a shield of armor around her, then that changes the game. And you know what else it does? It means there's probably no reason why she should be creating shields to stop bullets, which she'll do later on, because she can just have the little Gara sand shield of aura around her, which just protects her from bullets. She didn't need to do the big shield at all if she's only there to stop bullets from hitting her. Right? Right. But that's the thing, though. This isn't a superhero show. Things like that don't matter here. Representation by attendance, not by accurately depicting, but representation by attendance was the goal here in this show. It was despicable. Kamala says the line, "There is no normal,"
There is no normal.
which is a callback to the first volume, the very high-selling comic book, The Origins of Kamala Khan. People should read that so they can get the legitimate story. But she says no normal, so that was a good line that hit. And then the next thing she does is she punches the ground. See, guys, the tunnel was just deep enough and wide enough and sophisticated enough for Kamran to make his escape because the plot allowed it. I'm going to accept that her saying the words in Biggin, getting into her groove, is the way that she could finally do this now. She couldn't do that inside the school at the time, but now that with the powers that she can do it. So that's fine. But how was that tunnel exactly precise enough to the right spot where it was just good enough for Kamran to escape? How? You're probably asking how. I'll explain it. You see, there was a moment during the planning where Kamala Khan was reading blueprints to understand the floor and the grounds of that school. That was in an unfinished scene that wasn't even filmed. I'm inserting it. Now just for you. Yeah, it was bullshit. I know. That's why there was a fly on the screen. That was good. There was a scene where she just concocted this this blueprint, read it, cool, I know what to do. That's what happened. Now if this was a superhero show, they probably would have explained something like that, but it's not a superhero show. Instead, the creators of the show were using their brain cells to show you how Jersey was accepting of this brown-skinned girl, this Daisy superhero who they don't even know, but they sure do stick up for her. That was the goal here, and that comes with problems itself, because if we're gonna fast forward now to the ending of the show where we hear mutants, she's supposed to be a mutant allegedly. Mutants are hated and feared. You see how these things cannot be like the whole show, what was going for was to love Kamala Khan and to have her be a popular superhero. Even though she's from this outcasted community, she'll be loved, right? That's what they were trying to succeed in. If she's a mutant, she should be hated and feared, right? These two thought processes go against each other. When you change the origins, the foundation of everything, these guys, the origins of her they set the pace for everything to come after. If you don't get that right, then no story can be adapted. Few stories can be adapted, and any stories that are adapted are going to have the caveat. Not just now that she's bulletproof, that changes the game. Not just that, but I mean situations like if she's going to be a mutant, she can't. She can't be hated and feared. She should be the loved mutant. That's not how mutants are treated. I wrote this. When diversity initiatives interfere with logic, it's a disservice to the positive message you are trying to convey. If we remember the No Way Home scene where Electro said something about, I wish there was a black super Spider-Man. I actually thought you were black yourself. No, white guy. Remember that? That was something to include Miles Morales to show that anyone can be Spider-Man. Hooray, everything's great. However, the plot of the movie, the only ones who could transfer over into the universe were those who understood and knew that Peter Parker's identity and Spider-Man were one and the same. That's why Dr. Octopus could make it only, the Lizard and the Sandman, and then we're like, okay, cool. That's why those guys know. And that's why those guys made it through the portal. It was established earlier in the movie. But when you go into your little diversity moment, which is just for the inclusion of Miles Morales and I guess the points you're trying to score, the Afro Latino points, it came at the cost of logic because it was illogical for Electro, Jamie Foxx's character. It was illogical for him to not know who Spider-Man was. I like my diversity when it comes in the variety of like accuracy. That's what I like. Same with Islam depictions, or don't do it at all. Islam doesn't need it. The religion of Islam is pretty good. Got a couple billion members. It's got this authenticity to it. And a show, it doesn't need the pub. Stop. No, really, stop. Like, don't do it. Like, next time, Marvel, if you guys are watching this, next time you're like, oh, we're gonna do something to make us Muslims feel comfortable. No, we're good. We're good. I think you can do shawarmas and things from the culture, but as far as like words like halal, haram, words like you get my point, right? It's not needed. I can actually, if we're using Islam, I can think of 1,000 reasons why we shouldn't even be watching the show. I'm not Kamala's mahram. Should I be even tuning into this thing? No. This universe where we have a movie the same week that this was coming out, a movie where they refer to people as gods. There's only one God. That's like the first pillar of Islam is the belief that there's only one God. Like la ilaha illallah. We shouldn't. I'm just trying to say that Islam doesn't need this show, and you guys don't need to go to bat Marvel Studios for the religion. Do the culture, do skin colors, do that. Religion, and I would go hard, just as hard for like Moon Knight. If Jewish fans were like, nah, man, that yarmulke scene, that wasn't proper representation. If, I don't know, maybe they're not saying that. But if they are, I'm with you. Catholic fans, if you guys are into the Daredevil and maybe there's a scene in a church which you don't really like, hey, I'm for the accurate representation of those religions too. There are some things that Marvel doesn't need to put their hands on. They didn't need to they didn't need to superheroify the word jinn. They double back now. They did retract and they were like, hey, listen, you're actually the clandestines. It's the thing is like if the clandestines debuted in Norway, they would have been called what Thor's called. So they did kind of explain that away. So no, they're not jin, but still, there are fans. I was listening to, was it John Campea? I think he used the word jinn rather than clandestines. I don't know, maybe he feels like he's being inclusive. That's not an insult on John Campea, especially because he'd be watching our channels. I'm just mean to say, like, it doesn't need the stamp of Marvel approval if that's what they think they're doing. It doesn't need the religion doesn't need Marvel. The show is not finished yet. I kind of just jumped to the mutant part, which maybe want to talk about the end. So Kamala attracts a whole bunch of followers. Even her friends who were detained make it out of that car. That car door was unlocked because, gosh darn it, the plot needed them to be part of that. In comes Abu and Ammi, and they say, Beta,
Are you okay? That was amazing.
They're all with you.
in front of everyone, those two parents went straight to the nightlight character with all these phones surrounding them. What secret identity? That's not a nitpick. Watch the scene with Abu in the right side in the background. You see how he takes off his glasses, and then a few moments later, his glasses are back on his face? That's a nitpick. We go to Agent Clearly, who has a great thing to say.
Yes, that means that you're relieved of your duty. A unit's coming to fix your mess. Get out of there, now.
Agent Clearly is such an ally. I like him. Keep him. I hope he's a Skrull too. In Secret Invasion, we're gonna find out he's actually one of those green folks. He can humanize. Oh, humanize is a weird word to say because that would be an alien. But he can offer love to different skin colors, and he's not a prejudiced prick like many in law enforcement are. And when I say many, I mean every single one of them, except for Danny. Comic Chat is who he be. Love you. Subscribe to Comic Chat. I want to recognize the Easter egg of G. Willow Wilson as the real GWD, WW. There was a funny joke also with the Sheikh who is like, I am a hot dog. I hope I am a halal hot dog. That was a good joke. Nice little humor over from the crafty Muslim. The guy who knows how to keep things in lock. That was terrible representation. That was horrible. He was great for the whole show until he was just like, you know what? This Bruno kid, I think I saw him at the Eid festivities. He's trustworthy. We're definitely going to be okay with the guy who exploded a corner store. Maybe if the subplot with Nakia being on the board, maybe if we saw how she used her position of power, maybe if that was more than nothingness, more maybe if it was related to the story, she could have been like, no, I can vouch this Kamran guy is reliable. Maybe if that was in the show, but this is not a superhero show. The comic accuracy continues towards the end where the dad explains if you save one life, it's as if you save the whole mankind. Great line there. That was in the comics. He talks to Kamala and says her name is named perfect because when we had you, we didn't think we would have another kid. That was in the comics. And then he gives her name. Let's play it with the subtitles because that was not perfect and comic accurate.
Our own little Miss Marvel.
Folks, if you've been watching this channel, you know I've been dreading this moment. The superhero's name is Ms. Marvel, not Miss Marvel. Miss is M-I-S-S, Ms. is M-S period. Remember Ms. Frizz from Magic School Bus? We didn't know whether or not she was married or not married. Mrs. married Unmarried, Miss. You say the word Ms. It leaves mystery. It's actually a very empowering thing because men just get Mr. and that doesn't reveal their marital status. Why don't us girls have one either? Ms. Marvel. Carol Danvers was all about that. If you're going by comics and stuff, and it's a 2-letter word and they mispronounced it here. I'm gonna give Abu the slide. I'm gonna say, listen, English not his first language. He said Miss. Maybe he did mean Miss. You know who we're gonna blame? Like people over there on the transcript. They wrote MS period when Abu clearly said Miss Marvel. That's who we're blaming. What I'm gonna do is launch a fun campaign called hashtag Ms. sounds like Ms. So MS period sounds like MIZ. I'll do that. I'll tweet it. So look out for that and tweet me when I do it. We're gonna have fun with that. We'll see how far we can get. That's what I'll do here. People want to recast T'Challa. Nah, I'm trying to get the 2-letter word Ms. pronounced correctly here. So they did that. It was a F up. I hope that listen, Marvel, it's not too late. You guys were watching this review, made it all the way to this minute of this review. During the Captain Marvel movie, Captain Marvel 2, The Marvels, as it says at the ending of this show, let's voice over and dub over every time they say the word Miss Marvel. Because MS period makes the sound Ms. and not Miss. Things they got right. Kamala Khan's skin color. Things they didn't get right. Her superhero powers. Her superhero name. This was not a superhero show. This was a diversity attendance. Dad oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of crumbling up, like damage outside of the window of their home. What secret identity? A week later, so she doesn't get caught. A week later, Bruno is explaining to her, listen, your brother Amir was asking about whether or not he's going to be affected because he's in the family. And I go, yeah, that reminds me of a comic book where he's an Inhuman for like a short little while. It was actually the same comic book where Kamran is in and fights. So I was thinking there. And then my brain went somewhere else when he said,
Kamala, there's something different in your genes. Like a mutation.
My brain went, oh yeah, like in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when Janet herself, she said the lines. She said,
This place, it changes you. Adaptation is part of it, but some of it is evolution.
So Janet says that it changes you, mutates you. Then they did the music of the X-Men theme, and even then it never hit me that, oh, she's a mutant. I actually never accepted that.
Like a mutation.
That she's a mutant. It seems like everyone else online has, and that's the way they read into it, and that she'll be the first mutant. I told you why that would be a problem. It's hard to adapt somebody who you're supposed to love into a hated and feared mutant. It's got a lot of problems. And I was just ready to hear Inhumans. They're not doing that. They're doing a different origin or different. Is origin even the right word? They're mixing her up with another crop of people. I'm gonna ask that in my 33 burning questions. Does this mean she's a mutant? That little song there? I don't know. Are they committing to this, or are they gonna say no? He said mutation. We thought it'd be cool to put that music in, but maybe the fan backlash will be no, she's an Inhuman, and they'll like, oh, we're not committing to that. We'll see here at Hall H San Diego Comic-Con. Okay. End credit scene shows that Kamala's bangle is glowing. I'm imagining maybe possibly that the other bangle or the other side, because it was on a Kree's hand that they picked that off of. Maybe another Kree has the other end, and it made Kamala swap places with Carol. Maybe this moment exactly here will be a scene in her movie, just like her end credit scene in the Shang-Chi movie. That post credit scene, Carol Danvers, the queen of the post credit scenes. I think that's where that is heading. A lot of theories that will come out of this, a lot of conversation that will come out of this, and you can stick here on Chillmong. If this is the first time here on this channel, you picked a long video to get started with. I usually do a live stream on Saturdays at 1 o'clock, 33 burning MCU questions. I'll ask 33 questions that are all fun, and they're happy. They won't be insulting this studio for misrepresenting the religion I believe in a very poor way. Like, it's crazy. I was just watching Green Lantern, Beware. Never mind, man. Never mind. Yeah, like the video, bye.